Joining me now to weigh in from New York City, America's accountant, Dan Geltrude. Dan, it is great to have you back. I discussed earlier on the show how the White House was changing the definition of a recession, and now, Wikipedia is running cover for them. And now you're getting the fact checkers in on it saying, no, fact check, that's not the official definition, 2 quarters consecutively of negative GDP growth, of GDP decline. That's not the technical definition. And at the same time, we're seeing consumer price index is rising. Getting groceries is becoming more expensive by the day. This is, by all intents and purposes, a recession. And even if it weren't, would it even matter? Because Americans are suffering immensely.
Well, what you just said right there is very true. No matter how you want to define these things, the way people feel and what they're feeling financially, well, that stands as is. It always goes back to what John Adams said many years ago. Facts are a stubborn thing. And that's what we have here. So no matter how much coverage the media and other outlets are going to try to give to the Biden administration, in the end, the facts are the facts. We are in a recession. It feels like a recession. People are acting like it's a recession. So it's a recession. And what comes along with that is pain. And that's what people are feeling. They're feeling pain. And even if we didn't meet the definition of a recession, people would still say, financially just doesn't feel good. So the way this ultimately gets resolved is that people feeling the pain go to the ballot box in November and they start voting on facts.
It's been a while, Dan, since we've seen the economy so thoroughly impacted for the worse. When we talk about energy, when we talk about food, even when we talk about real estate for housing. I have this from Fox Business. New York City commercial real estate is facing record vacancies and low occupancy. They say people are just not coming back. I live in San Diego, so I can attest to the sky high prices for rent. You get a small studio apartment, it's like $2,300 a month to live in a pod. Same thing, same concept in New York City. People can't afford to live in these major cities anymore. I don't know how people are doing it, working at McDonald's or Chipotle or something like that, and living in these cities. It's just not sustainable anymore.
Well, what's happening there is related to cities like New York. It's not just related to the recession and inflation. It also relates to what's going on in the streets, like crime.
Yeah.
So, in New York, crime is out of control. People don't feel safe. They don't want to be there. So if they're going to be able to work remotely, why would you want to be in New York City? You don't want to have to commute there for your job, and you don't want to have to live there. So again, I say that as it pertains to the economy, it's not just what these definitions are and various definitions of what's going on in the economy. It's about how people feel. They feel good, they go out, they spend money, and they do things. They feel bad or they feel uncertain or they're having anxiety about what's going on. Well, they start making changes like spending less and moving into other parts of the country. And that's exactly what we see now. So again, I go back to define things any way you want. People are going to do what they need to do to survive.
And Dan, before we go, you're an accountant, you're America's accountant, you're my accountant. So I wanted to ask you, during tough economic times, a lot of people, they don't have near the expendable income that they had, before a few years back, for example. But now, people are having to really tighten their budgets. They're trying to look everywhere they can to save money. What would be your single best advice for someone to save their money and be financially frugal during a recession?
I think it goes back to this. The first thing that you need to do is to establish a budget. How much money do you have coming in each month, and where do you need, and I want to emphasize need, to spend those dollars? And what happens is you start to cut out the things you don't need. So whether it's those lattes and streaming services or whatever it may be, where you say, look, I just don't have enough room in the budget. So you ultimately have to tighten your belt, and that's really what it comes down to. So my advice to everyone, quite frankly, is establish a budget and stick to it.
Yeah, I would say that's very good, trustworthy advice coming from America's Accountant. I will say, Dan, I'm a big sushi lover. I don't know if I think I'm just gonna make, redirect my budget and make sure that sushi just doesn't get accounted for. So ignorance is bliss, as they say. So I'll just leave that part conveniently out. I'm only kidding. Dan Geltrude, thank you so much for joining the show. Always great to have you on.
Thanks, Addison.